God, guys, I just finished watching Night of Champions, and I missed the midst of the show, but I was able to see the final two matches: Brock and Cody, Roman and Kevin, Roman and Solo versus Sammy and Kevin Owens. And my goodness, what a scene! And it's not so much fully just the match itself, but the way that it ended is just the way you expected. My goodness, the bloodline has finally imploded after nearly a 2 year long story that started off with just Roman and Jay as Jimmy was out with an injury. You know, Roman manipulated Jay. Jay, he beat Jay in the stipulation Hell in a Cell, where if he lost, he had to follow Roman's order and fall in line. From that point on, it was them two. Jimmy, you know, tried to save his brother from the cage, and Roman took him out the equation. When Jimmy finally did come back after WrestleMania, he didn't want to fall in line. Then eventually he did fall in line, and I mean, just the whole story of it from this point to when it started, it's just insane. Probably one of the best stories in wrestling to date. But man, the ending, the ending. Sammy and Kevin, I gotta say, I figured if they were to win, it was gonna be because of the Usos, and that's what happened. But this match here, it was a good match. It was a really good match, really good main event. You had a lot of, times where Roman was just trash talking to the fans, trash talking. Sammy was getting in his head. Sammy actually spoke, in the language ones in Saudi. He spoke just to get in Roman's head after Roman had Paul Heyman, announce him and Solo as the future, as the soon to be tag champ, undisputed tag team champs, and so then Sammy took a shot at Roman by doing that. He actually started off like he was gonna fight Sammy, but then he got out and tagged Solo, and from there it just really was just Roman trying to pick his spots to get at Sammy or get at Kevin, but eventually it just became a brawl, and these guys, Kevin got a lot of offense and Sammy got a lot of offense, and once that started to happen, and there was some spots where Sammy actually hit Roman for Superman punch. Kevin hit a pop-up power bomb on Roman that he kicked out of a really nice near fall. Gotta say, Roman's probably the best at kicking out at close to 3 counts. I mean, it's insane how many times you think he's going to get pinned and he kicks out. But you know, like I said, tons of things happened in this match that led to a ref bump. There was even a point where Kevin actually hit Roman with a super kick. Oh no, hit Roman with a stutter, and Roman reflex with a spear. And so you had that whole part right there. Um, and Sammy, just as he hit the haluva kick on Solo, Roman stopped the count. And there was a point where Roman was going for a spear on Sammy. Sammy dodged it and he speared the ref, so he had the ref bump, which plenty of times in the match, Roman was trashing with the ref. He was like, saying if it weren't for him, Sammy wouldn't get this reaction. Even going as far as to say that, Sammy, even going as far as to say that Sammy, was, Sammy was, I'm trying to think, Sammy was, riding his coattails or whatever, but it all came down to the Usos coming out, attacking Kevin as he looked as though he was going to try to put Roman through a table. At this point, the ref was down, and then they accidentally kicked Solo, which is similar to what happened at Backlash, where there was that miscommunication. I think it was Jimmy who kicked Jay by inadvertently, and Solo looked like he was gonna spike Jay, and Jay was like, "What are you doing? You're my brother." So that whole match is crazy as when I thought they should have lost that match too. And once they kicked Solo, Roman got angry. You know, he told them, "This isn't the We Are the Ones. This is Tribal Chief," and he was shoving Jimmy and Jay just like he did on SmackDown, the pre-tape SmackDown, where Jimmy just wasn't having it, didn't put up the one, and Jimmy just snapped. And one thing I like about this story, as much abuse as Jay has taken, it's funny to me how with in both occasions, the Royal Rumble and even here, Sammy, who was an honorary Uso, who never really officially became a part of the bloodline, um, you know, supposedly after Survivor Series, but Roman had never truly made it official. And when Sammy hit Roman with the chair at the Rumble, the crowd exploded, and it was Jay who was like, "What are you doing?" He left the ring. He just couldn't believe it because he had just vouched for Sammy on that Raw to prevent Solo from attacking him, saying, on the trials of Sammy, saying that he did belong, that he was family to him. And in this case, similarly, when Jimmy struck, Jay's like, "What are you doing? You're better than that. What are you doing?" And Jimmy's just like, This is what we should have been doing a long time ago. It's not him no more. It's us. It's just us two. Should have did this a long time ago." He said, "Man, forget you," and super kicked Roman again. And it's funny because on SmackDown when they were putting up the ones, Jimmy just sat there and shook his head. And I knew, and it's funny to me the differences with Jimmy. The whole time Sammy was in the bloodline, Jimmy was the more laid back one. Jay wasn't having it. Jay finally embracing Sammy at the Survivor Series once he saw Sammy turn on Kevin, or more so to prove his alliance with the bloodline. But then, once Sammy struck Roman, it was Jay that struck Sammy first. Similarly, in this case, same thing. Roman keeps poking the bear at them, and it's Jimmy, just like how he was the one who struck first with Sammy, he was the one who struck first with Roman. And Jay, once again, just like he was at the Rumble, was just didn't know what to say. Was just shocked. And then he said, "Let's go." Uh, Sammy hits the Luva kick. Kevin hits the stutter, and they pin Solo. They drop, they retain the belts. Roman is just, and he just can't believe what just happened. That he just got, turned on. And there you have it. I mean, wow, what a what a main event. Um, I did see Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. I thought that was a really good match. Brock Lesnar managed to have Cody pass out rather than tap out. He kept him in a Kenora lock for a lot of the match. At that 5 on, Cody kicked out of, uh, Brock kicked out of 2 Crossroads. So, that match right there was a pretty good match. Apparently, I seen when they were reflecting back on the whole show that Oscar actually beat Bianca for the Raw Women's Championship. So Bianca has, after holding the belt, breaking the record as one of the longest reigning Raw champion, Bianca actually, has finally lost the belt to Oscar, which makes you wonder, what's the whole point of them having her hold it past WrestleMania? It was just so she could be the longest reigning Raw Women's champion because, you know, if they were going at this route, you'd have thought Oscar would have just won at WrestleMania. So it's interesting here that they had Oscar take the belt from her here. But the title reign came to an end. I thought she's had a amazing reign this far. Every feud wasn't the best pushing up to the ring, but you know Oscar's now the champion. We'll see how long Oscar goes as a Raw Women's Champion. This is actually Oscar's third time winning the Raw Women's Championship because she won it twice during that pandemic era. Well, still the pandemic, but during the Thunderdome era, she won it 2 times. So yeah, man, this also Zoe Stark and Lana, so Trish Stratus beat Becky Lynch. So this was quite an interesting show. Gunther retained with Mustafa Ali, as you would expect. Seth Rollins, won the New World title. I think everybody expected that to happen. But I just mainly want to come on here because I didn't get to see those actual matches. I just seen the highlights of them. But I want to mainly come on and talk about the main event. And I did see, the double main event before that. Brock and Cody, like the last couple of minutes of it. I thought that was really good, as I mentioned before. Uh, Natalia and Rhea, is pretty much what you would expect, kind of like just filler. But Rhea retained there, so with the help of Dominic. So you know, um, like I said, this was a really interesting development here, uh, and I'm really interested to see what's going to happen on SmackDown. I do hope Sammy and Kevin know, since they retain, I hope that this is completely it with them in the bloodline now. Now that they've now that they pretty much imploded with the group, I hope now Sammy and Kevin can move on to bigger and better things. They are still the undisputed champs, so they're still on both brands. Although I do hope they split those titles again at some point so that they could just have it back to how it was, SmackDown, Raw separated, so you can have ones fighting on both shows rather than them jumping brand to brand. Um, so I hope they can move on from this. Perhaps they'll continue feuding with Imperium, so it should be interesting. Hopefully this is it with them Bloodline at this point, because now the story is completely shifted. Bloodline has completely imploded, so they really should just get them moving on to something much bigger than this, which is kind of what I was afraid of when they won the belts. I was like, it's going to be a feel good moment, but where do they go from there? We know that the Bloodline, is eventually going to implode. That's like the direction they were leading to once the Usos lost the belts at WrestleMania. But where does Sammy and Kevin go from there? Because that's like the feel good moment. But where do they really go storyline wise? As far as champs. So this is really the testament now to see, there's plenty of teams they got that came up on the Raw that they can build for them. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with that. So that's mainly what I just wanted to come on here and talk about. Jimmy snapping on Roman Reigns here at Night of Champions. And that's pretty much it, guys. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Talk to you guys another day. Peace.